Hi, I'm Esther Jones and I'm a HypnoBirthing practitioner. And today I'd like to share a little bit more about me, about my birth experiences, and about how I became a HypnoBirthing practitioner. So I'm originally from the UK, but I lived in Barcelona for more than 25 years. And that's where I gave birth to my 3 children. So all 3 were born at home, accompanied by midwives and by my partner, their dad. And so physically, I felt very prepared for my first labour. So I expected it to be very painful because that's all I'd ever really heard about labour. But I felt like I'd be able to get through the pain. And so sure enough, it was very painful. And every time I thought that the contractions couldn't get any stronger, they did. And there were definitely some moments that I didn't think that I would be able to get through it. But my midwives and my partner were wonderful. And thanks to them and their encouragement and their support, I found the strength and the confidence to keep going. And finally, after many long hours of labour, my son was born and the pain just disappeared. And in the days after my son's birth, I reflected on the labour and I realised that I hadn't really been prepared at all. And the one thought that kept coming to me was, how had I not realised that I also needed to prepare mentally? And I knew that I'd been so tense during all those hours. I was waiting for the pain and then I was fighting against it when it came. And I had this really strong intuition that labour didn't need to be like that and that there was another, easier way to give birth. And so a year later, I became pregnant with my second son. And that intuition from my first birth led me to learn more about labour and about labour pain. And I started reading everything I could about the physiology of childbirth, the role of hormones, especially oxytocin and adrenaline, and the causes and effects of fear on the birth process. And I became fairly obsessive in my research, and I remember just feeling really excited that I was finally understanding what birth was really about. But having experienced that first really hard labour, I also wanted to have some specific tools on hand to help me this time. So this was 14 years ago. We were in Spain where hypnobirthing was barely heard of. And so I didn't actually come across it until just 2 months before giving birth. And there were no practitioners at that time in Barcelona, so I bought a book and an audio online and I practiced every day at home. And I learned to shed all remaining fears and anxieties and to completely just trust the birth process and my own body. And I practiced relaxation techniques and became able to quickly enter a deep state of relaxation. And despite the intense pain that I'd felt in my first labour, I started to really look forward to this birth. I knew it would be completely different. And when it finally came, it was a transformative experience for me. My body was relaxed, my mind was calm and happy. And instead of fighting my own body, I was able to let those uterine waves just flow through me without any fear and without any tension. And so instead of the intense pain of my first labour, the sensations now were just this enormous pressure. And though tremendously powerful, it wasn't pain. And my son arrived after 12 hours of labour, calm and unrushed. And I was amazed at the power of my experience and that the fact that this was something that so few of us had heard about, that by being relaxed and without fear, the sensations of labour are completely transformed. So why did we only ever hear negative birth stories? Why did we go into labour expecting excruciating pain? I felt the desire and need to share this information and my own experience with other women and with their partners. So following my son's birth, I took the training to become a hypnobirthing practitioner and I began to work with couples in Barcelona. And then 4 years later, my daughter was born and it was night time and her labour lasted just 5 hours. And those powerful uterine waves, which had been so strong in her brother's delivery, were now even more powerful. But where there's no fear, there's no tension. And so I was able to accompany that tremendous pressure and not fight it. And my daughter's birth was powerful, but again, no pain or suffering. And so, as a result of my experiences in childbirth, I've also trained in mindfulness, and I bring this to my classes in the form of reflections and practice. And my work has also led me to look more deeply at what women need to be accompanied well in labour and how we hold space for them. So I always work closely with birth partners to ensure that they're also prepared and confident in their role. And it brings me huge joy to be able to share my knowledge and experiences to help women regain confidence in their own bodies and to embrace their birthing power and to welcome their babies into the world as gently as possible.